There is new conservative so-called Matt Walsh movie about What is a Woman. I have not seen this, but some scenes on YouTube exist, and he provoked leftoids into claiming there is no truth. And I think this is a bit misleading. Many of these views, I say in show, might sound superficially to you like shitlibbery, like leftism. So I insert this disclaimer here, appendix to show. I know this, okay? I know the left says certain things that sound like the views I explained in this show. But it's wrong to believe these are leftist views. Imagine any of these men, Critias, Callicles, Thrasymachus, or Nietzsche today. Do you think any of them would be leftists or side with the left? If that word means anything at all, these men would not side with any doctrine that held egalitarianism as something desirable, that the left itself can be elitist in practice. This is no surprise because any movement will have to have elite leadership, and because there is a leftist tradition stretching back to Jacobins of French Revolution, which states something like, we need an elite-led dictatorship so we can educate the benighted people away from the traditions that hold them in shackles. But it is the ultimate belief of any leftoid, assuming they're sincere ideologues, not just an opportunist gangsta, but that this process of education of the masses, which needs a dictatorship, in which the masses are liberated from tradition, that this will result in a natural equality of man being re-established. Whereas for the other thinkers I mentioned, the stripping away of customs, traditions, religions, and so forth reveals natural inequality of men that had been suppressed. So in any case, after Machiavelli restated some of these views and they spread, and got repeated actually even maybe before Machiavelli in various traditions, such ideas are now for sure less shocking to you than they should be. And I said should be because for all the supposed familiarity many have with them, with the antinomian views I said before, might makes right, antinomianism and so forth, but for all the familiarity, they're very rarely digested and assimilated and allowed to manifest themselves, and I mean not just in action, but even in the other views a person holds. So someone can repeat all the things that sound like this and espouse openly something like relativism even. But these are just statements of, oh, I'm a fancy boy and I'm familiar with these views, or I hold some of them to be what a sophisticated person believes, because all sophisticated people believe truth is relative and morality doesn't really exist. But I will not let them actually affect any of my own moral convictions, which come from where, and which I do not call actually moral convictions. I don't know. Don't ask me this. So you know, I mean to say, when you see in Matt Walsh movie, What is Woman, and he corners some of these leftoids with questions about what is the truth, and most of them react indignantly and violently. And they say they protest that they do not think such a thing as truth exists, and that they find the very idea of truth to be oppressive and so on. And then these unreliable conservatives, in which I count Matt Walsh, by the way, remember his position on the Ahmed Aubrey case, where he jumped to the defense of the so-called jogger who was scoping out the neighborhood to steal. And Matt Walsh says something, this is what manly men would do. This is a guy thing. They like to look in construction sites. It's a guy thing. So, the Aubrey case is a bigger test for me than the Rittenhouse thing, because it shouldn't have to get to a Rittenhouse situation. The men who were destroyed by this fake, corrupt legal system for defending their neighborhood from a criminal scoping it out, I mean, in the Aubrey case, and the guy actually grabbed their gun, by the way. It's not like they just hunted him down. They were policing their streets because they didn't want it to get to the Rittenhouse scenario. They didn't want it to be known their neighborhood was easy prey, and to end up eventually unable to walk on their own streets or with burned buildings like the Eloy of Minneapolis. So it's just one of the most corrupt outcomes, this Aubrey verdict, an example of how the state is using common criminal as a way to attack its rival, what the state sees as its rival, the white middle class, a big plump chicken with much property for the taking. But anyway, so much for Matt Walsh. Maybe, you can call me when he changes his view on the Aubrey case. Maybe he learned his lesson. But the movie, what I saw of it, the little clips that surface on Twitter and YouTube, he does some good trolling. For example, he goes to Africa, he gets the Maasai tribe or whoever about their opinions on gender, and that's funny. I know it's trolling, well, assuming it's trolling, but who knows? Maybe it's genuine nigger rap worship, nigger rap. I didn't use the R, the hard R in this case, but I don't know if it's trolling for him. Who knows with these cigar and whiskey conservatives? I have to tell you, they're a bunch of queens. Brokeback McCoy and waxing romantic about Juan and the abuelita on the rancho. But anyway, so okay, he gets these leftoids to say that they hate the idea of truth because it's oppressive. And of course, this is something conservatives of this type love to jump on, these empty declarations, because it allows them to go back to the trite conversations of the Bush years and before, where they can blame the left as godless relativist hedonists. And, on one hand, it's good for them, this talk, because it's what they know. They're comfortable debating against that. On the other hand, it's safe talk, because you don't have to confront the left on its actual moral convictions, beliefs that put the left actually closer to the Interahamwe militias of Hutu power. You don't have to confront the fact they want to massacre you in the name of promoting equality and eliminating oppression, or any such things. You don't have to talk about race. You don't even have to talk about the subject, supposedly, of this movie, biological sex. You can turn it into an abstract conversation about what is truth, about relativism versus absolutism, and all such nonsense. And here come, I'm sure, the think pieces on this movie, tracing the tranny thing and the mass castration hysteria now, tracing it back to something like Hegel or Lift Hegelianism or to nominalism or who knows what else. It's all very safe. It's gay and safe and false. Alan Bloom, you may have heard of him. He's the most famous Straussian. He led the conservatives into a dead end on just this subject in the early 1990s with his book Closing of the American Mind, where he confuses immoralism and amoralism. And he took people on this empty road with thinking about relativism versus absolutism, as if that is the debate, as if relativism was what defined the left. If any leftist comes at you with such crap, you can ask them, why does it matter to them about white supremacy then, or any other supremacy? Why are they concerned about oppression? Why is slavery wrong? If the truth is oppressive, so what? Why shouldn't a transgender be refitted with cat ears, and sold in slavery to Iran? Or even to the Washington, D.C. Vermeulen trad cats, that whole bunch, they like the cat boys. Why does anything matter? As an East Bloc, I grew up communist East Bloc, failing atheist communist society. And relativism, real cynicism, real nihilism was all around. And I knew and know many types like that. And a real atheist and relativist is not like these moral faggots, okay? The signature character of the left today is moral indignation and rage. They're not skeptical people. They're not mafiosi on the make, disillusioned with all moral convictions. It's very easy to corner them as moral fanatics. Even in that one statement, truth is oppressive, I ask again, what's wrong with oppression? I mean, the statement itself disproves itself. How do you know oppression is wrong? And many such things. The point is, a left is not a relativist, but it invokes relativism tactically as a way not to have its moral convictions questioned. So they will try to question yours, but then they will pull this, I don't believe in anything. All truth belongs to, it's relative to peoples and nations and individuals. But it's easy to corner them that they don't actually believe that. The other reason they bring it up is they associate moral language, specifically the word moral, with religion, with bourgeois or middle-class values. And of course they see all such things as having the whiff of middle-class solid life, which is to them, they are taught that it's low status. So they don't genuinely want to think of themselves that way, as moral or this. So if you confront mentally ill BPD girlfriend on why she scolds me about not recycling, and you make fun of her moral convictions, she will go on lecture about this pseudo-philosophical lecture about morality doesn't really exist, and she's not interested in morality, which, I mean, both sides are comfortable with this. The conservatives are comfortable indignantly scolding the left for its relativism and godlessness, and the left is very comfortable pretending to be that and not the schoolmarm moral fanatics they are. It's a big reason I think both hated Trump, because here you have a fun-loving, iconoclastic man who shows the establishment to be moral fag stuffed shirts. And neither the establishment left or the establishment right are comfortable with that, because they are there to play this minstrel show for you where they pretend to disagree about these and there are even more exotic views now, not only on the right, but also some of you may have seen the post-left or the dirtbag left or some of these podcasters who actually want to identify the occupational class or the new left in general with Nietzsche, with eugenicism, with views like I described in this episode and so on. So it's Alex Jones actually even says some of these things. So it's very hard to address these points and argue them. They're so stupid. The existence of an elite and even a justification for having an elite is not, again, a political arrangement that is Nietzschean necessarily, or Machiavellian, or anything of the kind. Excuse me, you see how they attack me now.